Great.
Okay. Good evening. Welcome everybody to the July 12th Town of Brighton Conservation Board meeting. I'm Karen Berger. I'm Vice Chair sitting in for Dennis Adams in facilitating today's meeting. I wanted to start to see whether any of our guests are here for a public forum. No. Okay, the next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the June 7th, 2022 meeting. Does anyone have any comments or concerns about this? I guess we'll take a motion to approve them and then we can discuss. George moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments on the minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving the June meeting minutes? Okay, minutes approved. Thank you. So we have two communications from Mike Guyon, but we will address those later when we are looking at the tree council review. Do we have any presentations this evening?
I don't believe so, Karen.
Okay, so then we'll move on to project reviews. First, we have 7P0322, application of Chris Sardone, owner and generator supercenter of upstate New York for site plan modification.
Give me 1 second to get this back up for you. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
I don't believe we have anybody here to speak in regards to this. It's a pretty simple application. Basically, location of a generator in the side yard in an industrial park. I think basically it's just about the only place they can get it on this very narrow lot. Everything to the rear is pavement for parking. See, and it's to install a 27 kW backup generator, not a real large generator. As you can see on this generator, basically is this red dot, parking to the rear. Metro Park Street is up in the white here. Again, very narrow lot. I guess our typical comments in regards to this is that at all available to screen it from neighboring properties. So, do you have any, excuse me, any additional comments in regards to it? Any comments, board members?
Looks like no comments.
Do you want to, just request screening around it, or doesn't it? I mean, again, it's in the industrial park.
We can encourage screening if possible.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Yeah, Rick, I have one quick question. What is the small box? So there's the generator proposed location, and then just to the upper left of it, there looks like another, on the other side, on the left, upper left, not the utility room. There's a white box to the, yep.
Probably an air conditioning unit, some kind of existing utility there.
Okay, so we could, it may make sense to make note that there's already another utility adjacent to the proposed location. So it makes sense to cluster them there.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Unrelated to the generator, are we allowed to make comments regarding, they could plant some trees on this property? I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with the generator, and I don't want to jump on them for unrelated issues.
Yeah, we gotta be careful when we're applying conditions and stuff that really has nothing to do with their particular application. That's why, if you wanted screening, at least we might be able to get something, close by the generator, but
Sounds good. I'm fine with it then.
Any other comments? We're all set. Okay, Rick, I think we're good with that one.
Okay.
Okay, next up, we have 7P NB 22, application of Kim Bailey, Stall Properties for concept review to raise an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling at 12 Elmwood Hill Lane. Do we have someone here to talk about this project?
Larry, can you unmute? Can you?
Yes, I've just unmuted. Hello, I'm Larry Heininger. I'm the civil engineer for the project. The architect is Chuck Smith from New Design Works. Kim Bailey, the client, is trying to get in. I've sent her the link several times, so maybe she'll pop up. But anyway, there's an existing house up at 12 Elmwood Hill Lane that was built in the late 40s, had an addition put on it. It's, a nice, in a sense, a nice big house, but it's not great. There are fabulous views of the CCR golf course. That semicircle down in the lower left, just below the scale, is actually the green of one of the holes. I'm not familiar with the course, but the architects looked at working with the existing foundation, and the programming wasn't really coming together. And also you're dealing with a foundation that's concrete block, 70 years old, not insulated, a house that was built 70 years ago that's not that energy efficient. And we just said, why don't we just start new with the basement we made out of foam with poured concrete walls, would be very energy efficient. Also, if you have my letter, the front setback right now is something like 12 feet. And front setback right now is 12.6 feet. We'd be moving it back to 30 feet. And then we would be 50 feet from the rear from the golf course. So all in all, a better balance of the location on the lot. There'd be a side load garage, which is what they have now, a pool house. And that's about all she wrote.
So again, this is that concept at this point in time. I can see that the existing house basically is in this kind of dashed outline. A new house would be the darker gray patio area.
Right, and we're meeting with the planning board for sketch plan later this month, not a preliminary. We want to see what their reaction is to sketch plan before we go forward with any more design work.
So I think what they're looking for from this board is just our typical concept is like, if we have anything that we see glaring at this point in time, just point it out. If we're, fairly okay with the proposed concept plan, then we can always, say at this point in time, we have no comments. We'll have comments as plans progress. Not sure. I mean, there are a number of variances that are going to be required from the zoning board based on the new location. Interesting that, once you demo the house, you lose the right to the non-conforming variances, which already exist for this house, like right here, a very small front setback and some other issues. They go away once that house is demolished, so they have to go back to the zoning board to reestablish variances. Usually in cases where you're kind of reconstructing on the lot and making things a little better, the zoning board looks favorably upon those applications. So I don't know if they'll have too much problem with the zoning board in that regard.
Right. Let me just say that when I was meeting over at Design Works with Chuck and Kim, I said, our approach, Marcus and Associates, or my approach, is to develop the best design possible and then go in through the planning board and the zoning board. And if you need zoning variances, you present your case to what I believe are reasonable people. I was director of development in another Monroe County town, and that's what I would tell people that had to go to the zoning board. If your request is reasonable, most likely it will be approved. If it's unreasonable, it won't. So we think our request is reasonable to build a 2022 house with this type of footprint. We think it's a good project for Brighton.
Do you have any comments from any of the members at this point in time in regards to, Larry, maybe you want to just talk about, I know it might be a little early in the plan. Is there any, I know you don't really want to block the views to the golf course, but is there any additional, I noticed that a lot of landscaping has come down on the property since it was maybe purchased. Is there any plans to reestablish some of the?
Oh, I'm sure there'll be an extensive landscaping plan for the property.
Okay. Thanks.
Larry,
Yes.
the question about design principles and build the approach to building. Of course, the greenest building is the one that's already built. But since the plan is to take this one, the existing house down and rebuild, are the clients intending to incorporate energy efficiency, green design? And is there any plan for reusing materials from the existing home or finding a way to ensure that they're diverted from landfill?
I'm not sure about that. The foundation, what I was looking for was ICF insulated concrete forms. So that gives you a much better insulation in the basement. The existing house is actually the original house to the right, to the east, and then an addition to the west. This probably doesn't deal with energy efficiency, but they're really two different houses from two different eras. One is the late 40s. The other one, if I had to peg it, is probably the 80s. I'm sure that if there are people interested in the doors and the woodwork, that can be salvaged, because I was in the house to find out where the water service came into the basement, and my grandson was tagging along with me, and he was very impressed. But anyway, he thought the left side of the house is actually 2 stories, and he was saying he'd like to put a foam mattress down there like a pole vault thing and jump off the balcony. But anyway.
And I'm sure you incorporated that into your design for the new house.
Well, I'm not the architect, that's Chuck Smith, but there are a lot of materials that can be salvaged. That, I guess, to answer your question.
Yeah, ideally, we'd like to see as little go to landfill as possible, and whether it's through resale or through sending it over to Rehouse, working with oh golly, I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. Habitat for Humanity and
Right.
their building materials collection.
Yeah, that's a possibility. The appliances, the stove, there's things in there. I understand, granite countertops, things like that could be recycled, reused.
Absolutely. Yep. And we'd like to see that. And while there's no requirement for it, it certainly, we don't want it left unsaid.
Well, my daughter wants to redo her kitchen. She lives up in the not Browncroft, but Humboldt Street area. And so maybe she'd want the granite.
There you go.
So
Excellent. Thank you.
just a thought.
Any other?
In terms
comments?
of, yeah, in terms of energy efficiency, since that seems to be a topic of interest, we'd be interested in hearing more in terms of, insulating or possibly use of geothermal or renewable energy sources and stuff like that. I don't know if
Yeah,
those are things that you tend to encourage when you work with people.
Well,
But
again,
that would
I'm
be-
not the
that'd be
architect and I'm not the builder. I'm the civil site engineer, but I have projects that do use geothermal, so I can tie Kim Bailey into that loop. And they also, if you notice, the back of the house is facing south. So there will be solar gain on the back side of the house.
Yeah, it would be great if you'd encourage some conversations on that while it's still in the early stages of.
Right, and then
Fine.
part of that now is you've got that patio on the south side too, which would be like a heat sink on a warm day,
Yep.
a warm winter day. So that's stuff I can pass on to Chuck Smith over at Design Works.
Thank you.
Is there anything else? Because I did let Rick know I have an MRI. It's strong at 8 o'clock. I'm not kidding.
We don't want to keep you from that, Larry.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay, we don't have anything else to it.
I like the
just when
idea
they
of
do
this. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, just when they do the landscaping plan, just, native trees, that kind of stuff, try to stay native would be great.
Yeah, I'm going to be cutting down a burning bush in my front yard. So they're somewhat invasive.
Mhm.
Basically, I'll just have 3 comments. I'll go back to the planning board, encourage the repurpose of the existing house. Encourage geothermal and or solar energy use, and encourage use of native plantings with landscaping.
Okay, sounds good.
Good for the board.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you all very much. Okay, good night.
Right. Okay, do we have an EMC report? Sorry. Sorry, Paul, I didn't see you. Did you? I don't know if you shook your head or if you
Am
were.
I muted?
There
Can you
we
hear me
go.
now? Okay, sorry about that. The EMC meeting was finally held out at the Sun King facility in Owens Road in Brockport. That's the mega electronics recycling operation out there. Very impressive facility. They take in virtually any kind of electronic equipment. A lot of it is computer equipment, but they had large laboratory equipment, I imagine testing machines and so forth, and a mountain of flat screen TVs. And they do a series of breakdowns of those equipment, extracting remarketable components. They can take precious metals out of them if they're present, and recycle those as well. So it's a really large scale operation doing a very impressive job of getting those abundant electronic materials recycled and reused. The final step of the process is a 3-story grinder that actually chops up all the remaining metal components, casings, and so forth into about 1/2-inch size pieces of scrap, and those are likewise recycled and eventually reused. So it's a really great facility. I think a great asset for this community, having it located where it is. And that's it.
Do they Can someone drive up to them and drop off, or do they just do drives and work with business?
They do mostly the sponsored drives. I think Brighton has done a number of them, and they show up with a big truck and just take the stuff and haul it out there. I want to say they do have a drop off, but you might want to call ahead of time if you're interested in dropping something off. They may have, limited hours for that. But I'm pretty sure they did have a drop off there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Green report? Staff report?
No report.
Any new business? Old business? Okay, I guess that gets us to our trees. Why don't we start on Holloway Road? A lot of enormous maples.
Yeah, I drove out there today. It's funny, these trees aren't dead. Some of them actually look pretty healthy, but they've definitely outgrown the space and
Yep.
are climbing over into the road and into the sidewalk. It's they're not dead though, but they are being destructive and making it nearly impossible to put a sidewalk in there. The first two are just way overspaced, and then the third one is dead or dying. And they're all crowded in there. So I don't, again, we're back to can we remove living trees? But as far as I'm concerned, they're in the right place.
Yeah. I looked at them as well and was also in agreement that it was okay to remove them. The one comment I had, there were two at 94 Holloway. And one of them is just to be removed and the other one's to be removed and replaced. And I just thought you would want to, one of them is closer to a driveway. And so when they replace it, they would, it wasn't clear to me which one was number one and number two.
Right. I mean, there was already a reasonable trees there. That space is so small, I almost would recommend not replacing them. What aren't they all, unless we could find a species that's not going to get so big.
Do you mean at 94?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was only two trees in front of that house. And
okay, hold on, let me look.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The 94 one, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is number one. I think the leading one is number two. It says tree number 2.
Okay.
One that kind of leans, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be the one that you want to replace. So I think I was in agreement with all of those recommendations.
Yeah. We definitely don't need to replace all of them for sure.
So for the Holloway trees, we're okay as suggested from the arborist report.
Yep. And then any other comments on the Holloway trees?
Oh, we have two more as well.
Yeah, we have
We have 2 on Monroe and 2 on Eastland as
we have
well.
4 and 15 Holloway. Are you in agreement with all of the recommendations for all of them, Karen?
No, I don't.
Okay, so
George, what do you think? Which one are we talking about? Both of them, 74 and 15?
No, they're very different. 74 is partly dead, it needs to come down for sure. 15 is huge, but it's very much alive. It has multiple trunks. They go a variety of different directions. There are wires, but the thing looks perfectly fine. It's just a big tree that happens to be in a space where I think that's one that the town should maintain. Trim it, cable it, let it go. It's a healthy tree.
Becky, did you get a chance to look at that one as well?
Yeah, I did head out there today. I sort of had similar thoughts. The report seemed to indicate, yeah, there's a low probability of anything happening. The only thing that did stick out to me was how much, so there's no other large trees on that side of the street, probably because the power line's going down there. So there's power lines going through the tree and next to the tree in different directions. And I'm sure that's been sort of contributed to sort of the shape of the tree over the years. But I agree, if we could trim it in such a way that, and cable it in such a way that it wasn't impacting the power lines. I agree, it's healthy. There's not, it's large for the space, but it provides some nice shade on that side of the road that's really lacking.
Yeah, there aren't, you very much get the impression that there were more trees before, but now a lot of them have been removed. I'm not sure we're taking trees out here faster than we're replacing them. If it's a healthy tree, I don't see that we're justified in taking it down.
How did this many trees come to the town's attention? Was it just routine inspection, or did the residents bring it to the town?
I'm not 100% sure, Christine, on how these particular trees came. I'm going to guess that since they all came as a group, they were probably through just typical town inspection and review. Let me go to the report to see if there's anything. I don't know if there's a direct, like, neighbors calling to say they want that tree down, or if it was just being a little proactive because of its possible impact to, well, it's pretty close to those structures. It's quite massive. So that I don't know.
All right.
Yeah, the rating risk on that tree overall, they summarize low to moderate. It's not, there isn't anything that seems to be a compelling reason for why the tree should come down now.
I think probably a good, they have it specifically request site disturb, line clearing in 2022. I think just the number of targets that it possibly could impact. It hits every one of the targets on the, I'm going to go up to here so you guys can read it also on the screen. It checks all the boxes for the targets that they take a look at when determining that tree.
Yeah, but they go on to say the overall risk rating is low if you cable it.
Yeah, it's just checking off the things under the tree, which is
A tall tree.
the nature of this neighborhood. If we plant a new tree there, those things are still going to be under the new tree. If we have a healthy tree,
So
it's okay to have things under it.
we can just recommend that they go with the cabled aspect of it. It's your call. It's your feeling on it. Hard to read the comments, unfortunately.
Does anyone feel strongly that it should be removed?
Does say on the comments on there, residents complain of site disturbance when using driveways, tree liens. And it says tree. Yeah, the complaint is they complain about the impacts to the driveway when using driveways, so I'm not sure.
Meaning it's difficult to see when backing in and out, or because the roots are affecting the pavement?
Yeah, site distance when using driveway. That's what it is. Right down in this area, it says site distance. Residents complain of site distance when using driveways.
It's not really a through street with, it doesn't even have, they don't even have stop signs. You know, back, it's about 3 blocks in and it tees out. I'm not sure it's really that much of a hazard. The closest intersection doesn't even have stop signs.
And it's not, I mean, it's large enough that it could obstruct your vision as you're leaving the driveway, but it's not right next to the driveway. Like that, I mean, we looked at one a few months ago that was, you know, right next to the driveway, so we were concerned about that. This one, you have a little bit of space. So, I mean, if we removed and replaced it, obviously you wouldn't have as much diameter, so you could see around it a bit better, but eventually you'd run into the same issue. Just a small neighborhood.
Interesting that this street has their power lines out in front. Not many in the town do. Most of them run in the backyards. Well, what's the consensus of the board?
I'd like to see us try to keep it because we seem to be cutting down an awful lot of trees, you know. It's tough to get them replaced. I wonder if they could do some pruning around the wires.
I think they did that back. They said that they got let's say I got a permit in 2020 this year to do some trimming.
The RG&E did the trimming, or
Clearing 2022. Right there. So it looks like, and it also looks like this is like a brand new pole. Looks like a pretty new pole that went up. Maybe
yeah,
they put a new pole up, did some clearing. I mean, it looks like fresh dirt around it right there.
yeah. I don't want to put my thumb on the scale too heavily as a non-voting member of the committee, but if RG&E didn't come in and completely butcher it, we probably shouldn't do any, you know, we shouldn't remove it. I mean, it's alive, it survived RG&E, and enough of it seem to be coming down on the street.
It did mention in the report that, you know, RG&E would need to approve the cabling. So I guess maybe if we say, as long as RG&E is okay with us cabling it, we want to go that route.
I missed that part.
Was penicillin? That's right. Alexander 16.
in by utility contractor in 2022.
Hi, my friend Monty is having a birthday party. And we might have pizza and it should be a fun muting me. Then
Okay, so let's make a call on it.
I'm for keeping
The
it.
sentiment from the board is that we keep it and we recommend actions to reduce the risk from it, which can be cabling or pruning.
Sounds great.
Help me out again with that, Karen. To keep it and investigate. Is that what you used?
Take the actions needed to decrease the risk, which would be cabling and or pruning as approved by RG&E and deemed appropriate by the arborist.
Okay. All right. So the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on Holloway, so we recommend remove and replace, remove, and then 15.
So 100, 94, 94, and 74, we support removing, and 15, we don't support removing.
Okay, next set.
Okay, should we go to Monroe Avenue behind Chase Bank? David, did you also get a chance to look at these?
Oh, yes, I did. And this bunch is, well, there's 2 sets of 3 trees. The first 3 as you come off of Monroe, this is on Glen Ellen. They're in good shape, but these 3, they're not in good shape. And I think they ought to go ahead and take all 3 of them down.
Yeah, that was my comment as well. I took a picture of the third. They only designated taking 2 of them down, but the third one also has significant dead sections.
Right.
And it would seem that it would make sense.
Mhm.
I guess, you know, they're adjacent to a parking lot. None of them look in good health.
No. It looks like they're doing work in the parking lot, so maybe when they're through with that, they could replant, replace, put something in there.
So you want to suggest that not only that they take down 1 and 2, but they take down 3 also?
Sure.
Even though we weren't asked to recommend.
Did anybody else get a chance to look at these?
Yeah, I was out there and they don't look too healthy. I'm wondering about a replacement though. There's a lot of pavement there and I'm wondering if the microclimate, if that's the right word, isn't a little too harsh and maybe affecting the tree growth. Maybe that's something to consider in terms of what you put there in its place.
Mm-hmm. But the 3 trees closer to Monroe, you can see in the back here, they're all really healthy and doing well. So looks like it's plausible to.
These are Norway maples.
Yes, they are.
They were normal. Yeah, those other 3.
I mean, there's better trees. There's locust and sycamore that do better in the heat and that kind of thing.
We might know somebody has some.
So Rick, can we make a comment that they consider a different tree that might be more suited for that location?
Yep. So you want to also make a recommendation that number 3 comes down also.
Correct.
Yes.
And well, given the heavy traffic through that stretch of Glen Ellen, I would make it clear that replacing all three is important for keeping the, just the visual reminder that it's a neighborhood street.
Okay. Should we move to 170 Eastland? We've got another 27-inch Norway maple. I think Paul and George, did you get a chance to take a look at that?
Yep, it's just down the street from my house. It doesn't look good. It has some exposed roots. You can see those in the picture, and the trunk looks pretty beat up and infested with, I think they said, ants and termites and woodpecker damage, which I think means there's a lot of insect activity in the tree. It's a big tree, but I'm not sure it's in very good health.
George, you in agreement with that?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so we recommend remove and replace.
Yeah, it's striking to look at the table where it's ends and everything else is severe in terms of the, all of the damage to it. So. And then 70 Eastland, the fraction of a tree. So, or sorry, 58 Eastland.
Yeah, it's half a tree.
Yep.
It doesn't, the symmetry does not match the rest of the trees in the neighborhood. So maybe on those grounds alone, it ought to be taken down. But
Yes.
It looks like the other half of the tree was recently taken down. I don't understand sort of what they were hoping would happen. But I agree, it's very asymmetrical, and that's not likely to be fixed.
So no objections to removing and replacing 58 Eastland? No. Okay, we're good with that one, Rick.
Okay.
Okay. Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Meeting would be August 9th. Everybody expecting to be here?
I am a maybe on that date.
Or maybe?
Yeah, I'm returning to town that day, so I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, you just let me know when you, when you know.
Will do.
Okay, appreciate it, everybody. Sorry for the that's all. Cool.
No worries. You got us in, and we were all able to hear each other and see each other. So,
Okay. Technology hero, Rick.
If I can take a minute to share something interesting on, I think it's on Apple TV Plus. I don't know if anybody gets that streaming service, but it's a show called Outdoors, and this guy goes and looks at an area. Death Valley was on last week and talked to people who live there year round, or people who visited there a lot. It was really interesting. And today it's at 9 o'clock. It's about Idaho. So if anybody gets that service is interesting things. Pretty cool stuff. There's a lot more to Death Valley than just death.
and high temperatures.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, have a good month.
Yeah, you too.
Bye. Bye.